Cups up,
Have a
guys.
cough.
Cups
Cups
up.
up.
Mandy, I did have a question for you. Where is Kate Middleton?
I love this question.
I'm interested in hearing about this because I was just reading a couple articles on Kate Middleton. I'm going to reveal something. I'm really a royal junkie. So I'm going to let Mandy take off on this, but I'm really interested in what she's got to say.
That's funny.
I am one of those Americans who likes to say I don't care about the royals, but I do care. I have, especially this, I have been following it nonstop for the past at least week. It's like
Me too.
I don't want to say guilty pleasure because something could be really wrong with her, but it's my little, when I want to do a deep dive, I look into Kate Middleton stuff on, I never cared about the whole situation before, but ever since I found out, she has not made a public appearance since Christmas. B, she had an unplanned abdominal surgery that her staff did not know about. And then C, the Photoshop thing was like,
And
oh my
D-
God, there's something wrong here.
And D, the possible affair.
And then the soft launch of The Mistress. So,
Soft launch.
soft launch of the. Well, she came out of nowhere. Like I didn't know that the.
Yes, I didn't know.
I didn't know that he had a well-known. I mean, I always assumed that he had mistresses, but anyways, I'm interested in how people cover this, and mostly watching, and I've been taken aback by the British press and what a problem they have over there. And granted, we have our own fair shares of problem, especially when it comes to national media covering the president and covering national politics. We all have our own mess here. But the amount of grace that they are giving the palace right now of being like, she's fine, everything's fine, it was just a Photoshop error, and actually believing that Princess Kate Middleton was spending her Mother's Day downloading Adobe Photoshop and clicking around and figuring out how to stitch pictures of her children together. No, that's absurd. And then it's like, boopity doop. Now's the time to tweet this super suspicious.
With no wedding ring on the photo. By the way, there was no wedding ring on the photo.
Eric, you're killing me.
She had arms longer. She had arms longer than Manute Bull in the photograph.
Yeah, it was like.
And 2 days later, William is making cookies with some elementary students, and he talks about how artsy his wife is and how she's able to do photoshopping and all that. Yes, that's how knee deep I'm in it. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, you know a lot more than I do. I can't believe that. But what's interesting is that the Associated Press, and was it the Associated Press or API or both? They came out and said like they put out the kill order on the photo, which I've never seen that in my career.
Same.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It like trips you up because it's not just a Photoshop where she put like an arm longer, or somebody put an arm longer or whatever. They created a moment in time that did not happen. So it's not just like they, altered the photo or there's maybe changed the tint or something or made a different outfit on somebody. They created a moment in time that just simply did not exist. And they wanted the public to believe it. And I sent Mandy and Beth Braden today this PowerPoint presentation that somebody online put together that's like amazing. And it just goes through the entire scandal and like beat by beat with the timeline. I'll send it to you, Eric. And one of the things this woman points out in her PowerPoint presentation is that the royals, in order to be relevant to the public and continue the monarchy, the public has to trust them. And the public has lost trust in them or is losing trust in them because of this. Because, again, it's not just managing a message, it's you created something that didn't happen and you wanted us to believe it did, and now we're the dummies.
As speculation has never been higher about them,
right?
Like,
don't forget,
it was the worst.
It's on the heels. It's on the heels of Charles having cancer, and he's not really forthright. Is it a serious cancer? Is it just men our age get prostate cancer? And so now Camellia is doing most of the public functions. Okay, guys, stop laughing at me. Camille's doing most of the public functions. And we don't know, is Charles really, really sick? Is William going to ascend to the throne? And what's going on with Kate? Now, I thought I did see there was one photograph, Mandy, of her being with her mother in a car that was released. Did you see that about a couple weeks ago, or has there been zero photographs since this abdominal surgery?
I should clarify that there have been zero photographs that have convinced me that are Kate Middleton. There has been 2 of her in a car or a face in a car, but the zoom in on one of them, she didn't have the mole, which is her classic Kate Middleton, and then her face looks like a different structure than...
It looks square instead of oblong.
It doesn't, and not like she gained weight or anything. She just looks completely different. And again, those things have only heightened all of the speculation, versus it would just be a lot easier if she just came out on a balcony. And I know British people are like, she has to have a planned scheduling for a balcony, whatever. She just needs to walk outside and wave her hand and say, I'm cool, I'm alive, everybody. That's it. Here it is. But at the end of the day, I think it's about... watching it is important because it's important to hold public agencies accountable, and no matter how powerful a family is or no matter how much people like them, it's important to question everybody and everything, and when things don't add up, to voice your opinions about that, because I do think something could be really wrong here, and people who are just saying give them privacy, whatever, aren't helping anything.
Speaking of accountability through the masses, did you guys see that video from Jumpsuit Pablo? He's the guy that comments on things that are going on in South Carolina's prison system. And apparently Alec owes is it $5,000 maybe? I didn't get to watch the video because it was taken down. It was made private.
And I hope the government is listening, and I hope that they're paying attention, because there could be, y'all could figure out where the money is if maybe you follow Jumpsuit Pablo, whatever, and follow the money in that way. Like maybe Alex does have money, maybe he does have access to money somewhere.
Or it's paid on the outside, the bet's made on the inside, but somebody pays it on the outside and somebody goes and collects it on the outside. And is, Big Mike's, the people who work for Big Mike, are they trying to collect it from the brothers or a friend or somebody on Alex's behalf? Can you imagine they show up at 2 big guys show up at Dick's house, office, knocking on the door saying, we're here to collect for Big Mike? What?
Oh, God. That is a gift that keeps on giving. I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
Oh, my God.
Well, and then, so cool. Yeah, and that's funny, too, because I was thinking about this yesterday, how about the amount of times that Dick and Jim said, how poor he is, how he has no money, blah, blah, blah. And here this guy is allegedly making $5,000 bets in prison, just proving them wrong over and over. And, they all deserve it. Again, Alex has showed us time and time again who he is as the theme continues. And Dick and Jim should know by now that he is a schemer and a liar, a thief and a murderer. And I hope that they realize what fools they are for defending that man.
Jim does not. We had the documentary on Crime Nation this week, and Jim tripled down during that documentary. He was very upset and said that Alex is an innocent man who is behind bars, and it's a travesty. Everybody got it so wrong. So he is tripled down. Did you see that, Mandy?
Yeah. Innocent, I have a problem with, especially because since the day that he was charged with murder, his defense team has done absolutely nothing to prove Alex's innocence. I mean, we haven't seen a shred of any, and since he's been convicted, they keep saying, yeah, we're finding the killers. And as Jenny Jams
46 or something with no.
Ginny Jams on Twitter is keeping track, and she's tweeting every day and I think we're on day 46 of Dick and Jim not knowing who the killers are and not announcing it, at least. So, and it's just going to keep, I mean, they don't know, but the word innocent too, it's like, look at all of the crimes that he is admitted to. Let's talk about that. Like, this isn't some guy who just got framed for murder and is innocent in prison. I mean, there's no part of Alex that's innocent.
That's what concerns
He also
me,
obstructed justice on a murder investigation. Putting aside that he killed his wife and his son, he obstructed justice by lying to law enforcement about being at the kennel and different things that could have been investigated for a long time. And he sent them on he tried to send them on a different path. So Jim talks about innocence of murder. That's debatable, not debatable, but I mean, obviously he wants to debate you with it. But he obstructed in a murder investigation and tried to do it from the get-go. Mandy, it was interesting that you quoted that person, because that person said it's the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals that is going to exonerate Alex and declare his innocence. So that person conceded that the South Carolina Court of Appeals and the South Carolina Supreme Court are not going to overturn that conviction. Did you catch that in that tweet?
Yeah. So what does that mean exactly? I mean,
habeas corpus. It's a habeas corpus that he's going to lose on the district court level too. So that means it's going to be up on the Fourth Circuit. So this person is now prognosticating that Alex loses in the Court of Appeals in South Carolina, the Supreme Court of South Carolina, then does a habeas corpus and goes over to the federal court, loses in the district court, and then when it goes up on appeal at the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, that's when his innocence is going to be declared.
I have to, and what's funny about that, Eric, is like, yeah, that does concede that they don't have a winning argument in the state, but I would venture to guess that Jean Toll didn't make that decision in a vacuum, in the sense that I would imagine that she consulted some federal judges who know how that federal law, like because she even mentioned during the trial, like there's been other cases since the case that you're listing, which has clarified what is necessary for there to be a new trial. So I don't know. I know they're very confident, and I know that some people in the media are very confident that the Fourth Circuit is going to be the one to save Alex Bacon, but I personally don't see it, because I don't think that she made that decision without putting that into consideration too.
Well, what do you think is going to happen on April Fools? Is Judge Gergel going to do an April Fool's joke on us, or is he going to load Alex up? I'll first ask you, Mandy. What do you see? And now, do you believe that Alex will be behind bars for the rest of his life, for putting the murder convictions aside, which are double life? Do you believe now, with the state court sentencing we saw from Judge Newman and what's going to come on April 1st, April Fools, from Judge Gergel, are we going to see a large sentence federal court by Judge Gergel?
It's hard to say. Gergel has been a little unpredictable thus far, and it's also hard to say what I want. I don't want him to spend any time in federal prison, because I know that that's what he wants. However, it would be nice to have like a 30-year backup if something super corrupt and horrible happened to the state charges. I don't know, but I will say this: ever since Corey's sentencing, during Corey's sentencing, we saw a lot of pro-Murdaugh people in particular going on and on about how his sentence was way, way steep compared to a lot of other financial crimes and white-collar crimes, so to speak. And ever since then, I've been paying close attention to federal cases, federal white-collar crimes and their sentencing, and it was very much on par, if not, I mean, it's not unusual for financial crime perpetrators, for financial criminals to get 20, 30 years in prison. And so that whole narrative was so ridiculous, I thought, because I was like, I swear that I've seen a lot of people get a lot worse than what Corey has. And so I could see 30 years, but I have no idea.
I have to say, it's been really interesting because like we keep marveling at how there wasn't a whole lot of media coverage of this case when it first went to trial in 2018. And again, this is for the death of Sarah Lynn Colucci, who was killed in 2015. And her husband contends that she tripped and fell into, and we've been corrected. We keep saying garden hose, but it was actually, and apparently this is established, and we're still making our way through the first trial and watching it on court TV. But it wasn't a garden hose, which, is extremely pliable and easy to loop around. It was a thicker industrial hose, something that was a lot less pliable. So we just want to correct that. But his contention is that she fell into this hose and she hung herself to death, that she was suicidal over the death of her previous husband, who had died 8 years earlier, and they had just visited his grave, and that's what she did. But what we're learning we're learning so much, about this case, but we're learning that would not fit her personality, that if she were to choose to end her own life, that there'd be under much different circumstances. So that said, the trial in 2018 ended with a hung jury, so a mistrial was declared. And now the Attorney General's office is going to be retrying it on May 13th, starting on May 13th. And we're just hoping to bring a lot more eyes to the case, because we think that this is one that media would be super interested in, because like with the Murdaugh case, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happened. So for instance, the 2007 death of Sarah Lynn's previous husband, he died as a result of 20 some odd stab wounds that were declared to be self-inflicted. And after Sarah Lynn was killed, Michael Colucci's stepfather, Ivo Colucci, killed Michael's mother, shot her in a jewelry store in front of Michael's 12-year-old daughter. And
I've been involved in that case. And from a civil standpoint, there was a large trust and a large estate, wealthy people, and a lot of people were obviously concerned and grabbing at it. And we were part of the people the attorneys who were trying to have the personal representative enforce the provisions of the will. And so when I was representing, and Ronnie was representing this personal representative, we did not really understand the importance of this new Colucci case that is coming up. It just wasn't part of it. But it seems like a family that, look, again, the Murdaughs had 5 bodies associated with them since 2015 in one shape, form, or another. The Coluccis now have 3. It's crazy, guys.
Well,
it's just crazy.
Yeah, I hope that listeners will get really invested in this case, because the more eyes on the case, the better chance at justice being served here this second time around. Yeah.
Ooh, Bowen Turner was arrested. And it again, this is the second time that this has happened since I knew who Bowen Turner was. And each time my heart has sank, and I'm sure yours did too, Liz, of did he rape someone? Mm-hmm. Did he hurt someone? That was my first question both times. Thankfully, it appears that he did not hurt anyone, but he flipped his car over in a DUI accident. And we're still waiting for the FOIAs back on how he was acting on the scene, that I heard it wasn't good. And it's also just crazy to think about. He flipped his car and he was perfectly fine. And he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. What a weird world. And it just shows how dangerous of a person he is. And this is how dangerous a person can become when the system shows them again and again they can get away with everything and they can endanger other people and nobody is going to stop them. And that's what he was doing. What do you guys think?
What troubles me is I like to hold space for people to change and for them to get rehabilitated, especially people who are in their teens when they first commit crimes, because I think, like Carl Stoller said to me, it's basically like he's in the University of Prison now. So he's already gotten his bachelor's, now he's going back for his master's, he's going to end up getting his PhD. What bothers me about that is that, there's so many, we talk about Bowen Turner in a way that's so definitive, like he's just a bad person and he's, a dangerous person. And he is, and that makes, that is true. But I worry about, like, what about the other guys, right? Like, who get these chances. And then I remember the other guys don't get these chances. It's the Youthful Offender Act is intended to help kids turn their lives around. And when you attempt to buy your child's way out of it, it looks like it makes it worse for your child, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened had he just been held accountable from the beginning, because unfortunately with the crimes that he was accused of from the start, raping 3 girls in 3 different counties, those are progressive. That's not just a progressive crime. That is the crime. That is a very difficult crime to rehabilitate somebody from. But I would say if you had any chance of doing it, it would be when that person's 16 years old. And that's not the road his parents chose to take. So I just worry I don't want to make it sound like we're vilifying this person with this idea that people can't be rehabilitated or, because the fact remains that that's not the road his parents put him on. They didn't put him on that road. They put him on a different one. They were hoping to get him through a different door, and now he's on a path of destruction.
Right, and I also share the belief that especially with the younger a person is, the more that they have a chance of rehabilitation, of changing. I mean, we are still morphing as human beings throughout our entire lives. At 15, I do not believe that anybody can just be a bad egg forever. I'm sure there's some circumstances that there are some, but for the most part, I believe that everybody can change and can have the ability to change. The thing with Bowen Turner that makes them the most dangerous, to me, from everything that I know about him, it seems like he has a pattern of a dual personality and a bad personality that comes out when he's drinking. And
Timmy.
It's like Paul and Timmy. And it really worries me that his parents haven't zeroed in on that and made some major life changes on his behalf to get him into rehab, to get him out of that cycle, because it seems like alcohol is his gateway to all sorts of trouble and his gateway to endangering other people. But that case in general has just reminded us, especially through the tenacious work of Sarah Ford. And oh my gosh, she has been a warrior on behalf of those victims. That has shown me alone, just focusing on that case and how much work she's done and how much reassurance she brought to the victims' lives, and how much hope that her work gave them at a time where they felt really hopeless. It matters so much, and when we start to talk about cuts to victims funding, that is the opposite direction that our justice system needs to go in right now. I think more victims funding. I think our justice system should focus more on victims and what happens to them and the process for them. And so that all said, the victims rally on March 21st at the South Carolina State House in Columbia is going to be a big deal, because it is a big time and is a great opportunity to show our lawmakers that victims' rights matter and victim services matter, and we need these services desperately in our justice system. And on that note,
yeah,
cups down, everybody.
Cups down, guys.
Cups down.